Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Let's see. So, I guess it was a little bit interesting. What was it? Saturday night, we went live with our Codejo course. So, I kind of mention it every, maybe like some of these mornings where I wake up early and I have been doing some recording or working on these courses that we're doing. Me and a buddy of mine, we're trying to build out a company that does online tutorials for programming. Right now, we're focusing on iOS, and we're doing a couple of other things. Like if you we like the company name is Kojo, like training at a dojo, and so we have a podcast also called the Code Show Podcast. And so we've been working on it. We've been working on these courses now for about a month. It's still not fully done yet, but we wanted to try to do like a soft launch just to see if we got any reaction. So we went live with some Facebook ads, which cost money, by the way, right? Like it's like real money going out trying to get people interested in your product, and nobody bought. We got some click-throughs, so people saw the website, but nobody bought. So we're tweaking the ads, but also we're, I mean, it's only been one day. We're going to just look at different approaches. We're going to try a whole bunch of other stuff. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I guess it's like day one. Yesterday was day one. So today's day two. I'm not sure I think we're still also doing ads today. I'll have to talk with them, but I think we're trying to run ads all month just so that the Facebook algorithm learns the type of people who are interested in the courses and the product. And maybe it's nobody. And again, if that's the case, then we'll have to kind of reapproach everything. Um, yeah. So the other thing I was thinking about today, and I guess part of the reason we're doing these courses, but I was thinking about it today. I woke up early and I was doing my run, ran about 3 miles today, and I'm listening to the Ask Gary V book. Like Gary Vaynerchuk has a podcast, uh, obviously way more popular than me. So he's entrepreneur, talks about entrepreneurship, and one of the things that people ask him is they were actually asking him, is college worth it? Is it valuable? Now he's talking about in terms of business and entrepreneurship, and on our podcast we talked about is it worth it from the programming standpoint? Because yeah, like but we had some overlapping ideas basically. One of the things he said, and I kind of frame it as education versus certification, and he didn't say it like that, but he did say the same thing. It says, should you go to college? Well, what's your goal? If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or something that you need that degree for, then it makes sense. If you're going in for business, just do it. And so, really, that's my feeling with programming as well. Just do it. There might be gaps in your knowledge, but is it worth it? And when I say is it worth it, I he Gary V said something else where he was talking about our education system is broken, and I do kind of agree with that. I did happen to like my school. I went to DigiPen, then I actually ended up teaching for DigiPen for 7 years. I liked the school, and I feel like I got trained really well. Uh, I don't know what the success rate of the DigiPen students are, like going out and getting jobs, but I know that it's really high. Not only is getting jobs high, but uh, starting companies is high. I think that's why there's so many video game companies in Seattle. Is obviously Microsoft was already there; it's been there for a while, but places like I mean, but still places like DigiPen have existed there in the Seattle area, and they've just been producing high skilled video game programmers for a long time. And it's just, again, I can't prove that. But anyway, so I do think that my school was good. That being said, when I went to school, it was $60,000 total for just a tuition. Um, and then I don't know if I did it right or wrong, but I didn't work during this time, right? And I went through it. I tried to do it as fast as I could. I think I graduated I think technically I could have graduated like a semester early. Maybe I could have done it faster. So I think it took me like 3.5 years. I do know somebody who did it in 3 years, and he was valedictorian, but that guy is a genius. Started his own game company, by the way. Um, but yeah, so I think I did it fast. I didn't work. So that means I was also taking out student loans for like living life, like paying rent, stuff like that. Um, and I probably wasted money. I was still young in my 20s, living alone. We would go out drinking every now and then. I know I bought an Xbox. I bought at the time like the 17-inch MacBook Pro. They don't even make that anymore. So I'm not saying I was the smartest with my money. I probably could have done it better. I also know somebody who he he did like the 5-year plan. That's what everyone talked about. So that actually might have been a better idea. I think he might have been working a little bit at the time, but the purpose of doing 5-year plan is to not overload his schedule so he could learn stuff more. And he's successful now. I guess I should talk with him. I don't remember exactly if he had loans or not, um, or if he worked, but most people didn't work. And so in a school like DigiPen where you might be working like 12 or 15 hours a day, it really can get intense. Working is a difficult situation. And so I think my total loans were something like maybe 100. I don't know. I don't even know what the total is. How dangerous is that? Something like $120,000, 100 to $120,000, and then it took me 10 years to pay them off. So there's like overall, I'm sure I paid more. I mean, I know I paid more because of interest. So obviously, I do have good jobs now. Uh, even right out of school, I did get hired. I got hired by DigiPen. I got hired by the school. And then once I moved on, I still think I'm educated enough. Like I've been educated enough to know to get other jobs, and now I think I'm also doing really, really well. Um, that is for a good school. Obviously, it cost money, but that was for a good school that I think I'm well educated. When I was a sophomore, and I talked to a couple of people from UW, University of Washington, I think that I knew more than them as programmers. Again, maybe they weren't great students, but they were also probably paying a hefty tuition. So like I guess that's my thing. You can get these kind of like radically different experiences at school, but you're still paying that same price versus somebody it's going to be risky, it's going to be difficult, but somebody who just starts learning on their own, right? If you would take 4 years, like I don't know how you can do it. That's the problem. Is like when you're young, it makes more sense. Like if you're fresh out of high school and you're still living with your parents, and you can say, "Hey, I really want to program. I'm gonna start learning this." Or if you can learn it in high school, it's even better. You can start. Um, but yeah, like if you could take those 4 years and just do self-study, you could learn just as much. Now, you probably wouldn't just be studying. You would be doing real projects, and I think that's the big thing. You would be building stuff that you actually want to build. Let's see. Yeah, I guess this is the challenge. What kind of projects would you be doing? Eventually, like at the start, you would probably just be doing a lot of tutorials, and which is probably the best way to start. It As you got better at it, you would probably, or the path I would take is go and start doing like sign up for jobs on Fiverr or something like that. And here's where university or like college level and studying on your own is different because you're getting that real world experience. Maybe jobs don't count it as real world experience, but jobs also don't really count the university. They don't count the university projects that you do. They like that degree, but if you make a like file parser, like an XML file parser or something, like that could be cool, but you could make that project on your own, put it up on GitHub, or you could make that project on your own as part of a project for a customer, or you could make it at school. And the problem with making it at school is there might not be any real world, like you will get feedback, that's the benefit. But uh, the thing that you might not be doing, you might not actually be making an XML parser. You might just be making some small section of like rearranging characters in a string. And so I, I was reading somewhere, now I don't remember where, but somebody was talking about how uh, school doesn't prepare you for life. And I think DigiPen does it the best because we had so many projects, like the game projects. But besides that, the classes themselves helped prepare us for the projects. The projects prepared us for hopefully real world situations. But I don't think other schools do this. Schools give you an assignment. Even as when I was a teacher, it was that same thing. Schools give you an assignment. Do this thing. All right. Here's like the prereqs. Here's the output that I'm expecting. Match this output. There's nothing like that in the real world. Real world is you have a boss or a client, right? Which I guess you could say is the same thing. And they say, hey, I need this app. Like start building Android app. Actually, at my current job, first day on the job was exactly that. I knew enough to get started, but basically nobody told me anything. I As soon as I got there, talked with the iOS guy, said, "Can I get access to that code?" Okay. I said, "Okay, I need access." So I talked with my manager. I said, "Hey, I need access to get. Okay, what can I do?" And then I started the project. That's where I went. I started looking at what the iOS app was already doing, and then I started doing that. And of course, I was talking with people. But the point is, it wasn't like, "Hey, go and build this little piece." Right? Maybe some jobs are like that. Maybe if you get a job at Facebook because it's so established and so large, but and like they might help mentor. They might. I don't know because I didn't work there. They might help mentor junior devs a little bit more. Microsoft might be doing the exact same thing, but I've never had a job like that. Doesn't mean they don't exist, but I've never talked with people who have had jobs directly like that. It really is. I need an app. Go, right? And then we'll refine it. But that's it. Like there isn't. It's not as cut and dry as an assignment, right? The real world. And if you're working for a client, it's kind of the exact same way. Client comes to you, says, "Hey, I need this website built, or I need this app built. Here's what I want it to do." Right? It's like, oh, but like that can be very broad, and sometimes they don't even know what they want it to do, or sometimes you have to know enough to say, yeah, you can't do that, or I don't know if we can do that. I'm gonna have to research it, or like, okay, we can do half of that, but we can't do this other piece right now. And so obviously that comes with experience, um, but yeah, like school doesn't always prepare you for that. One benefit of school, I'm always play my own devil's advocate. One benefit of school is sometimes they push you. Of course, the teacher knows what can be done, and they're giving you assignments to push you that you might not otherwise do. So that's good. But okay, so I said education seems broken, and the reason I say that is because yeah, you come out of school. Hopefully, you know a lot. Hopefully, you studied well. Again, that is on you. That's that extreme ownership. But so hopefully you did that. But now you're 60 grand in debt, 100 grand in debt, or 200 grand in debt, because these days school is even more expensive. So then what do? You have to make sure that you can't take risks as an entrepreneur. Maybe that's not what you want to do anyway, but you have to get these high paying jobs. Like there's no option to do because you have to pay off these loans. And so that's already bad. And from my experience, actually experience as a professor or whatever, lecturer, um, the money isn't going to the teachers. The teachers aren't always guaranteed to be best of the best. Maybe at DigiPen, maybe at MIT, places like that. But other times it's not necessarily somebody the the programming teacher may not necessarily be somebody who worked in the games industry or worked building apps, something like that, right? So they don't necessarily have that real world experience. They might know programming, they might know, how to set up a layout in iOS, but like that's the problem is they might not. They might not know that. They might have just gone through the academic process. That's what most schools do. That's what they look for. They want, if you're going to teach at the university level, they want you to have your master's degree or PhD. So it doesn't mean that they're dumb, but it doesn't mean they have real world experience either. They have again, not necessarily theoretical, but like they're not necessarily working for clients or building games in the case of DigiPen. So like it's you're not guaranteed to get the greatest teachers. The reason tuition is so high isn't necessarily because teachers are the best and the brightest and they're going to help shape you. Um, it's I mean, there's maybe a couple of reasons why tuition's going up, but it seems a little bit broken. And in the case of programming, I just don't think you need that. I think that it's going to be difficult at first. Getting that first job, it's going to be really difficult. But after you get that first job, actually, here's another reason why it's broken. I went to school for 4 years at DigiPen. Then I got hired by DigiPen. I worked there for 7 years. After about 7 years, I was making about as much money as a fourth year graduate would from DigiPen. Because even my school didn't want to pay teachers more, even though I was a student and they were praising how much money you could make. And then I don't think that was just me. It's not like I was necessarily just bad. The reason I say that could be that, but the reason I say that is because when they tried to fill my position, they wanted to pay whoever they hired even less, right? So they just weren't looking to fill that position with somebody who was well qualified and compensate them well. They were looking to fill that position with a warm body. So I don't in that case, at least on the Korean campus, I don't know if DigiPen, I don't know what they valued. Uh, Not necessarily expertise, let's say. But then once I started trying to get a job uh, in Las Vegas, I was, of course, I felt confident, right? I mean, I wasn't sure what type of job I wanted, but I felt confident because I had that 4 year bachelor's degree in computer science. I know that new students can easily come out and get jobs. Plus, I've been teaching computer science for 7 years. Okay, so that's like obviously like 11 years of like my history in programming. It has been 11 years. I quickly found that jobs didn't value that 7 years. And I'm not sure, I mean, I guess I understand why. The reason I understand why, I think that I was good, but other teachers that I met, again, maybe weren't as good because just because you, to be fair, just because you were a teacher doesn't mean that you're good. So it doesn't mean anything. So they didn't necessarily value that experience. The reason I got the first job that I got was because of a side project I did. I ended up getting hired for an Android developer role because I built some Android games. So I had some like real world experience, and that was it. And then now 3 years later, I'm I am whatever highly valued. Like the 3 years of real world app development programming is way more valuable than the 7 years of like teaching, even though I was like programming during that whole time. So that's I guess I'm not complaining. That's the market. So maybe now those extra 7 years of teaching, maybe now those boost my resume. But I think the more important thing is those 3 years. Actually, I don't know if they boost my resume. I think it boosted my skill, but I don't know if it boosts my resume because maybe people still just look at, well, you only have 3 years of app development. And so they're trying to compare to other people who have been doing it for 3 years versus somebody who's actually been programming for 15 years. And again, I don't I don't know what other people are thinking. That's just my experience. I also had another buddy who was a teacher. He was teaching Unity, and he created some pretty nice courses. He was teaching Unity at the university level, and it's the same thing. Like he has been trying to transition to get a dev job instead of a teaching job, and he's been finding it difficult. So even though he has the knowledge, he has the skill, he has knowledge enough to teach people how to do this, and then they can go get hired, maybe for that junior job. Um, he isn't getting hired. Maybe he has like he needs more money than necessarily a junior developer job. That was part of the reason I got my first job, because I was also like here in Vegas, was because I was also willing to take that pay cut. Um, because I knew that it was more important to, like, okay, so I said, if just because these people don't value my, or like if these people don't value my 7 years of teaching, I'm not gonna like act so proud and turn down a job. So I wanted X dollars, and I got much less than X dollars. I didn't care. And now that it's 3 years later, I'm making more than that original X dollars. Um, and so, yeah, I was willing to take that hit, because if they didn't value me at whatever, like if they didn't value me at X dollars, that's fine. Let me get that experience. And then you can look at my old YouTube videos of when I was working at that job, and I was going in on the weekends. I was going in and I was learning, and I would say the same thing. Sweet, they're paying me. That's better than going to school. They're paying me to learn how to do iOS and Android better. So that's what I was doing. Um, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Education. Oh, I think education's important, but education can be anywhere. You can learn stuff on YouTube. That's getting educated. Maybe not correctly, but whatever. That's getting educated. Experience is education. Buying online courses from Udemy, or hopefully Kojo, if that's what if that's what you want to do. That's education. Um, you don't, and just because you go to a 4 year college, 4 year university, doesn't mean that you're educated either. But you might still, but even if you're not educated, you might still have to pay that, $60,000, $100,000 tuition fee. So that's why I think it's broken. That's why I don't know if it's worth it. Yeah, I'm gonna keep updating you on how the business is going as well. Um, anyway, I'll talk with you guys later.